Select Board meeting for Ignite CDA. If you'd all stand and help me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Time for public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'm ready to take action on the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar. Do you need it broken down, or is that sufficient?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I know we have some board members that are in on Zoom, so all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Thank you. That motion carries. Finance Committee.
I'll go ahead and take the lead on this, Mr. Chairman, for the Finance Committee. So the first item under the committee's report is the amended fiscal year 2022 budget. It's shown on the screen for the viewing audience, as well as you have hard copies in front of you. The proposed budget amendments are necessary due to changes in district project costs and timelines. Proposed budget amendments are highlighted in red font that you can see on the table. The process for amended fiscal year budgets calls for the Ignite Board to review amended budgets at the July board meeting and authorize publication of the amended budget prior to the August board meeting, where a public hearing is held on the amended budget. So just a few general comments and then some specific comments on the budget in front of you. Just a note, the Lake District amended budget reflects the values contained in the Lake District termination resolution passed by the board in June. On line 1 of the table, you see significant variances in the River and Atlas updated starting values that reflect the timing of project spending for the Atlas project, as well as actual levy rate changes. Line 4, the amended tax increment revenue receipts for the Lake and River districts are reduced due to calculations using actual levy rates and updated county valuation numbers. No significant changes for the Atlas and Health Corridor districts. On line 7, the River District, the unbudgeted loan draw amount for 2019 of $300,000. Line 8, for property divestitures for the Lake District, the amended value shows exclusion of Area 13 that did not close in FY22. In the River District, the amended value is close to budget for areas 8 and 10. Atlas District amended value reflects higher than budgeted offering by Toll Brothers for areas 3 and 4, and also reflects the non-closing of area 5A. On line 9, the Atlas District needed to borrow funds in May and June from the River District to cover expenses due to areas 3 and 4, delayed closing, and the addition of the Mount Hank Hall initiative that was not in the original budget. This value will be updated for the August 17th board meeting public hearing, since a new transfer of $1.25 million occurred today. Line 16, professional service. Lake District amended value includes additional Holly Troxel and other professional service costs. In the River District, the amended value includes additional Holly Troxel costs for the Atlas project. The Atlas District amended value includes additional Atlas project related costs for appraisals, accounting, and errors and omissions insurance. Line 26, the inter-district loans, the unbudgeted River District loan to Atlas District due to delayed Toll Brothers closing, plus additional board-approved expenditures in the Atlas District. As I mentioned earlier, this value will be updated for the August 17th board meeting public hearing, since a new transfer of $1.25 million occurred today. Line 31, agency funded public improvements. Lake District amended value reflects June board meeting resolution. In the River District, the amended value reflects addition of Atlas Project Phase 1 expenses that were supposed to be completed in FY21 and the non-reimbursement to the city for Atlas mill site acquisition costs. In the Atlas District, amended value reflects the addition of the Mount Hank Hall initiative plus other board-approved expenses for the Atlas project that reside in the Atlas District. On line 32, the Lake District value reflects the addition of the remaining chamber DDA debt obligation fund should the board choose later in the meeting to support the proposed use of funds as shared by Coeur d'Alene Chamber leadership. And then on line 34, all special reserve accounts set to zero. The Lake District funds that are targeted for the aforementioned projects, no special projects identified for the River or Atlas districts. So with that, I would entertain any questions or look for a motion to move forward with publishing the budget for the August 17th public hearing.
Tony, I have one question on line 9. I'm going to rephrase what I heard to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. The $2,237,980 was borrowed from the River District. And then the second part of that is where I'm unclear. We'll see that.
So since I just had to make that change today, I couldn't update the posted numbers. So the amendment that you'll see for the August 17th board meeting will include the extra $1.25 million that we had to loan today.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Or motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 amended budget discussion and publication approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Chairman, is the fiscal year 2023 draft budget, discussion and publication approval. I have on the screen the proposed budget for FY23. Just to refresh everybody's memory that under Idaho Urban Renewal Law, urban renewal agencies are required to prepare and finalize budgets prior to September 1st of each year. Therefore, the Ignite CDA board needs to review draft budgets at the July board meeting and authorize publication of the draft budgets prior to the August board meeting, where a public hearing is held on the proposed budgets. So some general comments. The tax increment revenue budget values that you see on the screen are derived using old 2021 levy rates. In other words, the budgeted tax increment revenues that you see for each district will likely come in lower than projected due to likely lower levy rates by taxing enters that are set later this year. That's one of our challenges when we have to budget so early in the process. We don't know what the levy rates are. So we have a good idea what the valuations are from the county, but all the taxing districts will set their levy rates here later in the fall. So we just assume and we budget that these values are going to go down. The reimbursement for the G&A across the districts is the River District at 50%, the Atlas District at 25%, and the Health Corridor District at 25%. In the budget, there is funding for the Coeur d'Alene 2030 initiative set at $25,000, which has been consistent over the past fiscal years. And the public art accrual for each district will be set at 1% for all tax increment revenue receipts, which is a standard that the board has set. So specifically for the River District, in this budget, the Health Corridor District does not begin reimbursement to the River District for accrued HDR master plan and legal costs or for the Dow traffic study. So the Health Corridor District will not be reimbursing the River District any money this fiscal year. The Atlas District does not begin principal reimbursement to the River District for the accrued inter-district loan debt. No new funds are anticipated to be loaned to the Atlas District in FY23. That's what we're planning on. The Atlas budget will contain interest payments to the River District for any outstanding loan balances, but no principal payments. On line 7 that you see on the table, the River District 2019 note draw is 0. So we see no need to borrow funds based on revenue cost projections for the River District and no need to load funds to the Atlas District. Line 8, property divestiture income is 0. So no new property divestitures that will happen in the River District. On line 31, agency funded programs. The agency planned to reimburse the city in FY22 for acquisition costs for Atlas properties located within the River District boundary. That would have been total $1.7 million. However, due to the Atlas project uncertainty, this planned reimbursement has rolled over to FY23. Also, the agency planned to reimburse the city in FY22 for infill material costs related to the Atlas project located within the River District boundary. And this was set at $153,000. Once again, however, due to the Atlas project uncertainty, this planned reimbursement has rolled over to this next fiscal year. And finally, under the Atlas project, the phases 1 through 3, the FY23 budget calls for $267,000 of new spending. So those are the main elements for the River District. Looking at the Atlas District, once again, just to reiterate, the River District loan will be zero. We don't see any need to loan funds to the Atlas District this coming year. On line 8, the property divestiture income is $2.4 million. This reflects the planned sales of areas 14 and 15 in the Atlas project area. The RFP for areas 14 and 15 will be coming to the board at the August 17th board meeting. On line 16, the professional services, the large budgeted value is for Holly Troxel work for the Atlas project initiative. And on line 31, the agency-funded programs, the agency intent to reimburse the city for acquisition costs for the Atlas properties located within the Atlas district boundary of $5.3 million. There will be no reimbursements in FY23. The district just can't afford that at this time. And the same goes for the city's fill material cost of $153,000. There will be no payments in fiscal year 23 for that. The Atlas project phase 2 and 3, the FY23 budget calls for $2.67 million of new spending. So still quite a bit of money to spend out there for the Atlas project. That's why we're being conservative and not, trying to reimburse the city for those acquisition costs at this time. And finally, for the Health Corridor District, the revenues under the River District, there will be no loaning. The Health Corridor District will not receive any loan funds from the River District. We may need to reevaluate this item as the year progresses, depending on strategic initiatives. Also under revenues, the tax anticipation note, as we talked about, that there might be a partnership with Kootenai Health on coming up with a line of credit with a local bank. We have that at 0.2. Once again, we may need to rethink that, re-strategize about that as strategic initiatives may occur in the Health Corridor District. Also under revenues, the Kootenai Health payment in lieu of taxes, the pilot contribution is set at 0. We're still working with Kootenai Health leadership on this issue, but we are assuming no pilot funds will be realized in FY23. And on the expense side, the Health Corridor District, as I mentioned, does not begin reimbursement to the River District for accrued HDR master plan and legal costs or for the Dow traffic study. So with that summary, I would entertain any questions you might have regarding the budgets and look for a motion to publish for the August 17th public hearing.
Any questions? About a motion?
I'd make a motion to publish the fiscal year 23 budget summary for the August 17th board meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Steve Whitmire.
Go.
I just wanted to just to say again that I've been involved in many, many budgets during my career, and I have to really give Tony kudos that it's a very detailed budget. And not only is Tony our executive director, he's also the chief financial officer. And I just want to say that he just does an excellent job of putting all of those numbers together and preparing those budgets. So I just wanted to thank Tony for that.
I'll second that.
I think Steve's right.
Thanks for those awesome words, Steve. We all agree. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Thank you.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, the fiscal year 2022 audit, the Hoover CPA engagement letter. So I shared with you the engagement letter from Hoover CPA. He's going to do the same services that he did last year for the audit, but he's asked to raise his fee by $500 from $10,000 to $10,500. I support that recommendation for a fee increase because of the complexity associated with our audit, especially associated with the Atlas District project initiative.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve the Hoover CPA engagement contract.
Second?
Any discussion on that one? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Thank you. That motion also carries. I think it's time for the executive director's report, so
Chairman, I'll just roll right on here, and
on and going.
my pleasure to welcome to visit with the board the representatives of the Coeur d'Alene Chamber leadership to talk about their proposed use of funds for the remaining funds of the disposition and development agreement. So the floor is yours.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Ignite CDA board members. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Linda Koppis, and I'm the president and CEO of the Coeur d'Alene Regional Chamber.
And I am Rick Rasmussen. I'm the current board chairman. And with us today, we also have our past chairman, Ann Thomas, and our chairman for next year, Jody Acevedo, are also here in attendance. So I'll go ahead and start on this one. So we met with you last month, and we came out, we said we're much more prepared, and we feel like we're in a lot better shape to talk about what we have going on. So our building opened up in 2007. There's a picture of the first shovels there, the groundbreaking. The agreement was put into place with the district and us, was put in on February 20, 2008. There was $300,000 awarded in the agreement that we had, and then the remaining principal against the agreement is $263,274. There was a clause in there that if the building was sold before December 31st, 2021, then we would have to pay back the $37,000 that we had received, but that time has passed, and so that clauses are out of that. And so now Linda's going to talk about some of the details that we came up with for the public good.
So before we get to our vision and our idea of moving forward, I thought it would be a great thing to start with the past. And so our chamber building opened in 2007, and the photo that you see in the upper right-hand corner, past chairs of the chamber at the groundbreaking ceremony. Back in 2007, when it opened, I found a flyer that showed that it was a marketing flyer that was hoping to attract 40 to 50,000 visitors each year into the visitor center that year that it opened. Ironically, that happened to be the first year that Apple launched the first version of their iPhone. And you may wonder, what does that have to do with the visitor center? In 2008, we're going to keep going on the timeline. Our visitor center boasted our highest number of visitors per year at 28,000 visitors, still, pretty short of the original goal of 40 to 50,000 people per year. In 2009, their mobile travel sites and apps started making their debuts, and since this time, smartphones have been steadily chipping away at the need for travel services, and especially for paper brochures, because so much of what people are looking to do for travel planning is available at their fingertips on their smartphones. In 2013, we were down to about 24,000 visitors. And then fast forward to 2021, it's the last year that we have full year's worth of data, but it was post-COVID, so COVID definitely had an impact, but we had less than 9,000 visitors in the visitor center that year in 2021. And then the important thing to note is the picture at the bottom right, that's really the face of who's using our visitor center today. And it makes sense because that demographic is usually the type of demographic that's not necessarily relying on smartphones and technology to help them make decisions and to make their lives easier. So that's what our visitors look like today. About 80% of them that come through the doors is really in that senior citizen demographic. And in my time at the CDA Chamber, I've just been looking and observing and watching this and thinking, this is the most beautiful office space and the most beautiful building in our city. And what can we do to think about how to reimagine the space that would attract really the face of our community? So young people, people of all different types of demographics. How can we use this space that was originally designed for community good? How can we revitalize it so that that is the focus and that we're starting to see people across all different demographics? There's a huge opportunity that we have ahead. This slide right here is just a couple of different images that I've taken to try and give you a pictorial representation of our vision for what we could do with that space. I think the most important thing to note is at the top. What we would like to do is to use it as a community gathering space. And there's multiple ways that we could use it. Number one, as a visitor center. So we definitely believe that that needs to continue to happen. It's just that right now, 100% of that front room is filled with magazine racks and brochures that are pretty empty and nobody's using. And what if we reimagined it and just took a kiosk in that space and used the rest of it to really bring the community in? So some of the ideas, people could come in, we've got free Wi-Fi, so they could use it as workspace. People could rent it out as an event facility. They could have business meetings in our conference center. We started experimenting with that this year of being able to rent out the space, and we've had a couple of organizations, jump on it. It's really hard to find great conference space in this town, so that's one way that we really feel like we can help not only our chamber members, but our broader community members. Economic development briefing. So this is one opportunity. We see a lot of growth here in Kootenai County, and we want to grow and attract really great businesses here. And what if we partnered with Ginny at the CDA EDC and said, hey, we've got this amazing space. And as you're bringing companies into town, what if we had really great briefings utilizing our conference room that looks out over the lake? I don't know what better selling point that you could have of, looking out and seeing this beautiful area that we're in. But not just leaving or limiting it to those briefings in the conference room, but what if you look at those pictures at the bottom and the right-hand side, what if we did some fun, special kind of private event where we're wooing those businesses and we bring other business members and other community members and public officials in our community to help give them a feel of the incredible kindness and the collaboration that we have here in our special area. So we really would like to use this space in bigger ways than we've been able to in the past. Private events, I've experimented with that, and I have a picture on the next page below to show you what that looks like. But arts and culture and pop-ups, again, that visitor center is an amazing space, and imagine if we brought some startup companies and we had a little business fair where they were able to bring in some of their goods that they're selling and bring the community in for something like that, or art gallery, or participate with arts and culture and art walk. So many different ideas on how we could bring more people and utilize this incredible building that is a great selling point and a great asset in our area. A couple of thoughts as we considered this. First and foremost, we want to make sure that we're thinking about how can we allocate or set aside some of the time that we have at the space that's available to go towards government entities and nonprofits that maybe don't have funds to rent out the space. So nonprofits are a huge asset in our community, and I think that's really important that we're using the space to help support them. Our patio spaces, right now our patio spaces are largely underutilized. Imagine if we opened that up to the public and they could just come up and sit and hang out on the patio, and if we did bring in some sort of artists, maybe on 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, and how much fun it would be for people to come and just sit down and take a breath and listen to some music. Lots of great ideas there. And then lastly, I think it's really important, public restrooms are a kind of a scarcity here down on Sherman, and so we do have public restrooms, and part of the revitalization would include a remodel to ensure that our public restrooms are ADA compliant, and that could be something that we could advertise across town. So again, if people needed those facilities, they could come to our space and use them. So the next slide, I just wanted to speak to the pictures first. So in the right-hand side, that top picture is the 4th of July, and that was our first kind of private party that we used for that space for people to participate and watch the parade. So that's a really fun and amazing location, not only for the parade, but we did it for the fireworks. We could do it for Coeur d'Alene, for any of the big events, the holiday parades. So it's an incredible asset that we could use, again, to for public and community use. The picture in the middle, that heart in the patio, that's just a great example. It's a huge patio, and there isn't any patio furniture on there. And so summer's crazy busy downtown, and imagine if we did have patio furniture up there and people being able to come and rest and just kind of sit and hang out and take in the beautiful view. And then the bottom photo on the right is a great example of, this is an experiment. So this is a local nonprofit, North Idaho Young Life, and they had a leadership training. And so we pulled everything out of the visitor center and we brought them in and allowed them to use the space after hours, which was an incredible gift and blessing to them. But also to me, just knowing that somebody's being able to use this space and we're being better stewards of this incredible asset that we have here in Coeur d'Alene. In terms of how we would use this fund, or these remaining funds, you know, our guiding principles are number 1, public good, number 2, community engagement, and number 3, economic development. So as we went out, Rick, I'll let you talk to this, he talked to a whole bunch of different organizations to get estimates and bids on projects that we felt could fulfill this mission.
So going out there, so looking at public good being number 1, thinking public good, how can we get public good? And we heard you loud and clear, and then we also thought of community engagement and economic development. So I went out and got bids through my maintenance team that I work with and through others in the community, trying to think about how do we use our own business as chamber members to do this work. But we think this town desperately needs a community information digital board, you know, talking about events, talking about, you know, elections coming up or different things. We could have something there where we could have it tastefully done, do it right, a nice 4K digital board out there that could be for the city's use and for other events coming up. ADA compliant bathrooms, just such a shortage downtown, and how great would it be to have folks, you know, that the young gentleman that created the app that shows ADA bathrooms, you know, it'd be great to be able to find this on our in our building. We think that would be $30,000 to $35,000. In the event center, you know, so if we're going to rent it out and redo stuff, you're going to need to have audio visual like this. You're going to need to have the electrical and the plumbing upgraded. So we got a quote from some vendors locally on that. The patio, you know, open to the public. You know, the public benches would be awesome out there. Someplace for people to go sit and be able to look at the lake, to get away from things downtown. We then have some stuff, you know, the south side patio, you kind of see that is deteriorating. The wall is starting to basically concave in, so we need to support that back up just so that we can have events up there. So we kind of need to, there's concrete damage on the north side patio, so we got a quote from that would be $10,000 to $15,000. And then again, the last one is the rock wall and the landscaping updates, you know, so some of those are getting a bit, all these go towards public good. Everything on here is public good, public good, public good, and I think it could be definitely be the showcase and then also help with that community engagement and economic development. We want to make it more welcoming to not only folks from out of town, but folks in our city.
Overall, we believe that with your help, we will be able to work together to reimagine this beautiful space so that it may once again become the community hub that drives not only tourism, but community, authentic relationships, economic development, and overall business prosperity across our beloved region. Our hope is that you guys see the value and that you'll be able to look at those remaining funds and trust that we can use them in really great ways to benefit our community. So that's our big ask to you, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Anybody have some questions?
Linda, would you go back one slide?
Sure.
This is great, by the way. Thank you so much for all your work you put into this. One question I see, I do see, okay. Sorry, furniture and public benches. I just wanted to make sure that was built in and it's there. So,
Perfect.
answered my own question.
Any questions from the folks that are dialed in?
Mr. Whitmire,
Go ahead, Steve.
I just wanted to mention that at the last chamber visit, we had tasked them to go back and create a list of items that were directly for the public benefit. And I believe what they have done in their list of things, that all of the items they have there do directly have public benefit built into that. And so I believe that the task that we gave them was accomplished, and I think they did a good job of presenting items that are for the public benefit.
Thank you, Steve. Commissioner English?
Well, just feedback that I also really, really like the concept, the list of things, some of the specifics you've identified. I don't know, a year or so ago, we had, some of us participated, I think Amy did, and I know Steve, that, in a wheelchair challenge to, and we started out, that was our hub down at the chamber, and had wheelchairs, and then accessed the downtown, and got to see it as the folks who have to deal with that all of the time. Also in some of my former life working with elections and handicap accessible, and then even at the area agency on aging, which actually a lot of folks don't realize, but we also dealt with anybody with disability 18 or over. So I'm tuned into the concerns and the needs. So I'm really glad to hear that's a focus point, and that is such a central location for folks. So that I'm good to hear. I know from just being out there and about, meeting space is always, just so hard to come by, and that you don't have to buy a giant, meal and room package to be able to get a meeting room or something. So, yeah, I think this is, would be a, terrific asset, reinvestment back into the community. So I guess I need to hear some of the exact nuts and bolts of, how we've got this, how it would work. But in terms of the concept, I think it's terrific. And if we can do it, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Brennan. I would just add to, sorry, I was in the car for the first half, so I couldn't see all the visuals, but you did a great job with the narration, so I got a good understanding or a good picture. But I do feel that I was also excited to hear about kind of bringing, facilitating meeting spaces and gathering spaces for both businesses and nonprofits. And I think that's a great way to develop community and community engagement. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks. If there's no more questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Go, Steve.
I would make the motion that we approve funding for the Coeur d'Alene Chamber of Commerce of up to $263,000 for the items that they have outlined, and also add for them to work with the Ignite's executive director on accomplishing those items that benefit the public.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Sounds good.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mr. Chairman, next, I'd like to invite Phil Boyd up to talk with the board about the Atlas project update.
Welcome, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Chairman Hoskin and board members. Okay, so I'll give you an update this afternoon on the Ramsey Pit, the Atlas project, and then talk a little bit about the development management of the Atlas project. So the Mount Hink hauling operation, you guys might have noticed that it had paused for a little bit, slowed down a little bit. We've reduced it, or Riviera has reduced it to running about 8 trucks a day. They were running about 18 trucks a day. The board might remember, excuse me, we're trying to preserve some of the structural soils on the site that we came across. And so that's what slowed the process down. There will be some cost savings, but it'll be a net cost savings but we still have to pay a little bit to move it on site because we're moving it from one place, excavating out, hauling that away and moving it back. There's about 85% of the material we estimated is there that has been hauled off. So we estimated that there was 400,000 yards there. There might be a little bit more as we continue to excavate into pits 3 and 4. Time of completion is in September or October. The city's going to be doing some work on Ramsey Road, paving it, and we're going to need to shut down. We don't technically have to shut down, but we think it's prudent to shut down and let the city do their thing. We're also going to look at potentially rerouting the trucks to minimize impacts on the new asphalt. We don't want to do any as minimal damage as possible to it that the city's going to put down. A couple of pictures for the board. This is actually at the Ramsey pit, so you see you're looking west. This is the Croc Center back here. And you can see there's some that are dumped here. This guy's spreading it, this guy's pushing. You can see there's quite a bit of moisture that we're putting down in order to control the dust. On the Atlas site, the reason I put this picture in, it gives the board a little bit of a window and kind of what it looks like in there. So over here, this is bark material. On top of it, in this area, is what we call the 6% material. The level of effort it takes to reutilize that involves pulling it from here, dropping it into here. These guys are, you can't see the scrapers, but there's scrapers that we're dumping in here. This guy's spreading. These guys are picking the large roots out of it and then compacting here. And even with all that equipment in there, it's still more economical than either hauling it off-site and then having to re-import material to achieve this. Currently, this material will be only get filled to -10. So the upper 10 feet will be a native granular material in order to make the site structurally stable. Just another picture shows us pushing some of the bark material out of here. So we kind of got a place we have to head to, right? And I put the slide in to refresh the board's memory. Celtice Way is up here. The Prairie Trail is right down here. This is Suzanne, like when you're headed into the park. And this is one of the future roads here, Heartwood. Kind of the easiest low-hanging fruit to create in there is to run a street down like this, put a cul-de-sac on it, develop about 40 more lots in here, and potentially leave this area for a potential multi-family configuration that looks like this. When we did the pro forma for the board a year and a half ago, this was the configuration that we put together that kind of showed you could haul off all that material, go build this infrastructure, sell those parcels of property, and get to a zero. You wouldn't make any money, but you wouldn't lose any money. So I just wanted to refresh the board's memory to say that's kind of the objective we're headed to, realizing that the board may choose to modify that as we move forward, like potentially a different development in there.
Question, Phil. On the Celtice side there, what's that slope going to be from the road into that multi-family housing?
Right now, it's shown quite steep because this is the worst case scenario where we're just trying to balance the site with the material that we have available to us. As you can imagine, that type of topographic change makes this type of development difficult. So we anticipate what we probably will be getting at is we'll finish into this rough grade, and then we'll start soliciting structural import that comes off of big construction sites as the years go on, or the year goes on. We're not in a gigantic rush to do this because remember, your guys' this was a bolt-on. Your other project cash flows positively. You have positive net revenue off of it. So you may choose to sit on this for a while until the kind of the perfect storm exists for you to advance the development.
Well, I would just give feedback that, of course, a lot of things are changing between the, economic things and what's going on. And actually just at our council meeting last night, one of the folks, Councilman Gookin, brought up that once the council to take, a hard look at, for the council to take a hard look at what Ignite might want to do with that property and how it might be fit into the whole, concept of, workforce housing and the different needs. So I guess my perspective on it is that, we've done so much, and we're kind of working back to that far corner there, and we've done terrific, and we never thought, at one point, we didn't think we'd build anything. I mean, there'd be a big still the old mountain and make it kind of a little hiking hill or something. So the fact that we might do something, I guess just to, it sounds like from people nodding and things, you may be well aware that, yeah, there's a lot of interest, so no, we shouldn't charge ahead too much. We still, we're going to have to decide what we have to do for these needs, but there might be a wonderful opportunity to do some things that, we never imagined at the get-go. And it has been something that's been part of our goal that, at least from my perspective, we've not really been able to do much with. But I mean, the whole meeting some of the housing issues and all of that, it is a goal, it's a priority, but we haven't been able to show much for it. So we might have some opportunities there to show something for it. So I guess just to kind of add that into the mix of thinking. And if there's any more background, I'm glad to hear it. I don't know if another board member, also council member, Amy or anybody else has any perspective of.
Well, I think the workforce housing is important. I don't know if we're at the point where we can make a call on this right now, if this is the spot or not. I will say, I don't know what the numbers are, maybe Tony does, but all those apartments on West Riverstone, there's a big workforce housing tax credit project there that we helped do years ago. That was before workforce housing was even the buzzword around town, and we were aware of the issues with rents going up, and I don't even remember how many units there are in there, Tony. There was a lot, though.
Yeah, those are the Whitewater developments in Riverstone that we
Yeah.
partnered with that are affordable housing and are managed, I think, on a 30-year time frame. And I can't remember the exact count, but it's probably in the 60 to 70 unit count range.
Yeah, so we've done workforce housing. And we made a valiant attempt in the Midtown area with the workforce housing project and beat our head against the wall, making a valiant attempt up there to try and work out a workforce housing project. And that didn't work, so that's going to be a market rent apartment project, but we tried, so we are aware of it. It's not like we haven't thought about workforce housing, and we've done it, and I expect we'll do more. And maybe this could be a place to do workforce housing. Maybe there's another place that makes more sense.
It's good to have the opportunity to do something there instead of a Tubbs Hill too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on to one more update here. I put this red line in here to just give the board reference on the picture I'm going to show you next. I will point out to you, there's a little different configuration shown here than in here. This is when we were working on a scenario to maximize density. And so I put that in there for one of the presentations, and I've just left it there. You can see the road kind of loops through like this, and these are twin homes. They used to be called duplexes, but the new cool name is twin homes.
Well, twin
So,
homes.
the picture I'm going to show you next is for the boulder wall that runs right through there. This wall's just currently in construction. You see in the background, this is the Area 10 that the Chase Mixes multifamily product that's right there. So this picture is kind of taken northwest. Just see the start of the rock wall there. This big vacant parcel of property here is Area 3 and 4. So this is the Toll Brothers project. Atlas Road is behind us here. This is the alley. You can see the rock wall that's along there. The rocks are all spread out to be able to create that elevation difference. It's another picture. This is future Lumber Lane, or it is Lumber Lane. It's closed, but this is Atlas Waterfront Park is back here. And here, again, you see the alleys. This is where the townhomes will be. I'll show you a picture of them here in a second. General updates, the Phase 2A infrastructure, so just kind of think about Phase 2A as the bottom part down here. 2B is up here, and this is 3. So 2A should be completed in the end of August. 2B is a little bit on standby. And, you know, the board elected we're not going forward with an RFP on that quite yet. So we're not under a gigantic pressure to complete that infrastructure. So we're taking the opportunity to economically stage the soils because we need that real estate to be able to pick soils up, stockpile, and move them around. So we're paused a little bit on the 2B infrastructure. The Phase 1 landscaping, our deadline is kind of the NIBCA parade of homes because there's a couple of parade of homes down in there. And so the builders are anxious to make those look nice. The board's not under any contractual obligation. We're just trying to be good neighbors and get that landscaping done so the neighborhood looks nice before that happens. 2A landscaping in October, and the entry monuments, I think, as I've told the board before, in the fall, winter 22-23. Development management, we've been really focusing on getting all the closing requirements done for Toll Brothers. We think we've accomplished that. We're still doing our review process of areas 8 and 3 and 4. I'll show you some pictures in a second here. Been helping Tony with some of the developing maintenance budgets, because there's quite a bit of HOA open space. You know, there's the hill climb that runs through here. There's a parklet here. We're also looking at the alley maintenance would be HOA done, so snow plowing, common mowing, because we're anticipating maybe a little bit of a snowbird effect here, and so some folks aren't going to plow their sidewalks, and so it's consolidated plowing. A little higher end neighborhood, I think, and so we're trying to accomplish putting all those things into an HOA budget to take care of those things, as opposed to leaving it to the individual. That may change as time goes on, but at this point, that's where we're headed. We've been helping Tony put those budgets together. And then daily coordination with the builders. You know, there's Area 8's under construction, Areas 10, 12, 1 and 2, so there's lots of activity going down there. Sometimes there's bad behavior, sometimes the behavior is getting better, but we're down there daily kind of making sure they keep the spaces open and allow things to happen. I threw these in because I wanted the board to kind of get an update on Area 8. We just recently got this, so this is a bird's eye view. This is the Butler development. So Celtice Way is up here. Area 10 is right in this area. These are townhomes. These are single-family homes. So this is the general character of the home. I'll give a lot of credit to John and Ann Butler. Started out a little bit with some architects that we were struggling with. They went out and engaged Architects West, who really kind of elevated the design of them. The ADRC committee still struggles with the shed roof thing because it's just so pervasive. And we suggest a lot of gabled roof but apparently this is what sells, and it's difficult to get the builders off of that.
I agree with you. It seems like when a trend takes hold, everybody jumps on it.
Yeah.
And in the 1990s, it was really tough to sell a house with a shed roof. And now they're the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's what you see going in everywhere.
And here you can see this is a review. This is on Lumber Lane. And so these are the single-family homes. And this is looking at the townhomes this is Veneer Road here. So Area 10 is back at the bottom here, Southeast Way. You're looking towards the river. Some kind of nice, unique design. Really good job that they've done on the landscaping and the public-private interface. This is the townhomes that Toll Brothers put together. This is one of their designs. They have about 4 or 5 different designs, and this is another one of the designs that they have.
Yeah, more shed roofs.
Some of them are flat roofs, yeah.
Yeah, flat.
Yeah. So that is my update, and glad to answer any other questions the board might have.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just say real quick that I think it's good to go ahead and try and finish that landscaping for the builders that are in the parade of homes. That's kind of like an unveiling to the community. There'll be several thousand people go down in there.
That's a good point, yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.
Chairman Hoskins, before you move on to board commissioner comments, can Tony and I ask your leave to go back to the motion on the chamber? I think we would maybe like a little bit further direction from Commissioner Woodmeyer on his motion in terms of, Tony and I were hoping that you would give us direction to enter into a funding agreement like we would traditionally do when we were doing grant funding for public and economic development.
Okay.
And I think that's in the spirit of the motion, but it's not really in the language the way we captured it. So I was hoping Commissioner Woodwire would give us leave to amend that motion to direct Tony to enter into a funding agreement with the chamber for those items up to that dollar amount of, and I wanted to confirm I heard you right, Commissioner Woodmeyer, of the total of $263,000, which was the upper end of what was proposed by the chamber.
Danielle, yeah, that's correct. So up to 263,000. And I guess my motion was for just to give Tony the leeway. There may be those numbers could fluctuate a little bit. It could be that the reader board is a little bit more expensive. It could be that some of the patio amounts that they had on there could be a little less. But I wanted to give Tony the flexibility to work with the chamber as long as they were for the public benefit as outlined there, to give him a little bit of leeway to work with the chamber on that. So however you would like to structure that, I know attorneys like to be a little detailed on that kind of stuff. So I'm happy to have you provide whatever details you would like to that.
Okay, I would propose a motion, something like, so to fund the items in the chamber's request up to a maximum of $263,000, and to direct the executive director to work with the chamber to facilitate a funding agreement, and to empower the executive director to utilize that $263,000 for public good, maybe with some flexibility if specific line items change slightly.
So moved.
And still second.
Is that all we need to do, is just have a reissue a motion for?
Yeah, and let's re-vote just to make sure everybody's
Right,
on board with the changes.
We have a new motion, amended motion, and a second. Any further discussion?
Quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Brad.
So let's say that some issues come up and it's beyond Tony and your comfort level. Would there be a simple process where you could bring it up for clarification at one of our meetings?
Sure, we could do that, and if you want to ask the motion maker to amend to give some sort of like a dollar amount that you would like us to, if something changes by a significant amount, to bring it back, we could certainly do that. I think what Commissioner Widmeyer is envisioning is, if the patio furniture comes in less, but the reader board comes in more, allow the executive director the authority to utilize those funds that way.
Agreed.
I totally agree. All I was talking about is maybe a simple process where something is out of Tony's comfort zone to agree to, and he could bring it back, at one of our meetings for a simple clarification.
We could put that into the funding agreement as well. I mean, I can tell you that Tony and I have those discussions a lot, like, does this rise to the level that we want to bring it back to the board?
Right.
So yeah, I think that, and oftentimes we loop Scott into those discussions.
I have lots of faith in Tony, so I'm not trying to put too much control on you. I'm just saying there could be something, so there should be a simple process, to come back here for an interpretation or clarification if it's out of your comfort range.
Commissioner Widwire, what if we modified the motion to include that we would bring back any material changes to the project as proposed by the chamber?
I guess then you would need to define material, right? So who defines material? I kind of liked your idea of having something written in the funding agreement rather than the direct motion, but whatever way that makes the board happy and makes you comfortable with, I'm good with that.
We can certainly address it in the funding agreement if you're comfortable with that, Commissioner Jordan, and leave the motion as it stands.
There may not even be any reason to come back to us. I'm just putting that out there as a thought, just in case something does come up that you consider as a material change and are uncomfortable with.
If we feel uncomfortable, we will come back, absolutely.
But I have a lot of comfort with you two.
All right. Any other comments from those that are dialed in? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Motion, the amended motion carries.
Thanks for letting us jump back to that and get further clarification.
Thank you. It's time for some board commissioner comments. Any board commissioner comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
That's fine.
Aye.
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 We're adjourned. Thanks for you that dialed in.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Jeff, that's a wrap.